Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
This is Everybody Hates Rand.
It is.
You look surprised. Where am I?
I mean, I'm a little loopy.
It's your friendly neighborhood wheelie time podcast. I'm Emily Dushaw.
And I'm Sally Goodger. Would it help the audio quality if I sat closer to the microphone? I just feel like I'm very loud, so I always try to sit a little bit farther away than you.
No, you're fine. I don't care.
Okay.
Today Sally texted me when we were in separate rooms both reading separate copies of A Crown of Swords, and said, "Is this Perrin and Fail sex the reason porn got taken off OnlyFans?"
I can't believe you read that. That was such a dumb text.
No, it was really good. I laughed.
Okay, let's talk about these chapters.
I mean, I'd rather not.
They're really bad. Like, I promise I won't say that about every set of chapters we read in Wheel of Time land, because they're not all this bad.
Usually there's some elements that I can find to enjoy. It's difficult with these ones. We do at least get Davram Bashir.
With his leg slung sluttily over the arm of the chair.
He does that every single time, I swear, someone walks into a room. And I'm like, when does he get down out of that position?
Never.
Or is he just constantly switching legs?
Yeah.
You know? Which one will be which is my best side to present to the Dragon Reborn?
He's so funny with his tall, mean wife.
We first have a scene where Perrin and Fail are standing in the throne room of Kyrian along with... This is actually kind of comedic.
It is like comedic genius right now.
With Dobrain, who is the only nobleman in Kyrian, I guess, that is trustworthy, and Kulavir, who's just still in a dead faint. Literally everyone else has left the room. Rand even left with his whole coterie. Perrin sent Aram. Oh no, Aram's still there, staring, as Perrin describes it, worshipfully at Perrin and Fail, which is like, hey, what? What's going on with Aram? Does he want to be, in on the Perrin-Fail relationship? Mm. Is he, just desperately hoping that they will suddenly open the heretofore very heteronormative boundaries of their relationship and be like, we've been thinking, Aram, we want to be a throuple. Because Aram, I mean, it's not happening. I get falling in love with your two best friends. If Perrin and Fail are indeed your two best friends.
I guess.
With Aram, I guess the pickings are slim.
Yeah.
But, don't be a gay idiot.
Don't be a gay idiot.
I wish Aram was gay. That would make him way more interesting.
I know, it would be way more interesting. Well, it's just really creepy. Because the way, of course, Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, the majority of the staring he does is at Fail, particularly, right? Because Robert Jordan is Aram. Of course, Aram has hero worship with Perrin, but at least from what I recall from the scene, he's staring at Fail a lot. And it's I lost my point. I'm really struggling.
Well, so that makes it very heterosexual.
Yeah, it makes it very, very heterosexual. And just it is somehow so much more weirder to me than if Aram was just I have fallen in love with Perrin. But to bring Fail into the equation, I'm just what's happening?
Janet told me this last weekend about a movie that I believe is called Single White Woman. I could be totally wrong. and I wish that I could FaceTime her right now to ask, but every time I FaceTime her and Devin, they think that I'm dying because we don't really talk on the phone that way.
I could FaceTime her. I have her number.
That would be even weirder. Emily wants to know, we are recording the podcast right now. Emily needs to know if the movie you told her about is indeed called Single White Woman. But I'm too lazy to look it up right now. But anyway, the plot of the movie is that this woman gets a roommate who is unfamiliar to her. It's just like a Craigslist listing or whatever that she picks up this roommate. And her roommate slowly begins transforming herself into her. You know,
Horrifying.
like cutting her hair to look like her, wearing the same clothes, and eventually attempting to take over her life.
What the fuck?
And it's like, is that what's going on with Aram? Is the way he looks at Fail is he's like, Fail is my wife. Because I'm not Perrin, I am a satellite of Perrin. Like, we are so attached. I am basically this, like, ancillary form of Perrin.
Yeah.
And one day, soon, I will take over.
Yeah, he's gonna...
I will invasion of the body snatchers Perrin.
He's gonna cut his hair like Perrin, grow a little beard.
I mean, it would have been actually... I feel like if Robert Jordan... The problem with Aram... And I'm sorry, I don't know if I told you this, but I cut out our long spiel about Aram a couple episodes ago when we were talking about what a psycho he is.
That's
basically
okay.
because we didn't have room for it, but here I want to talk about it a little. I feel like the main problem is that Robert Jordan doesn't himself know what he's doing with Aram. Mm-hmm. When Robert Jordan portrays mental illness and PTSD, he usually does a fair job of, like, portraying it by the book.
Yeah.
In a way that is recognizable to readers. Mm-hmm. You know, we are able to recognize many of Rand's symptoms of insanity, and we are also able to recognize that maybe it's not insanity. Maybe because this is a magic world, there is some magic at play here. Mm-hmm. And we're able to recognize when Perrin is experiencing PTSD, as fraught as it is with generally unfortunate other plot elements. Mm-hmm. But with Aram, I just have no idea what's going on with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an extended form of PTSD. I don't know if he has some sort of obsession with Perrin and Fail, and if he does, I'm not quite sure where that comes from. Like, is he meant to be this stalker figure? You know? Mentally ill in that way? Is he meant to fully be a sociopath now? I don't know, and I don't think Robert Jordan knows, and I think that is why, for many other reasons, Aram's presence in the plot is so unsatisfying. Because if Robert Jordan would just commit, be like, okay, Aram's a stalker now, and Perrin's a little too naive to fully get it. Mm-hmm. And the way that Aram is acting makes Perrin uncomfortable sometimes, but not frequently enough to drive him to drive Perrin away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, yeah, it's also just really frustrating because the way Aram is presented as pretty much our only character from the Tuatha. I can never say that word. I have like a brain
Tuatha
freeze in it. Like, he's basically like pathologizing pacifism to the point where it's like, as soon as he's out of it, Aram is just like off the rails.
Yeah.
You know? Like, as soon as he gets a chance to experience any form of violence. It's like Robert Jordan is presenting them of like a I'm really sorry to make this reference, but in Glee, there's a celibacy club. That's like a big part of what the fuck? Big part of the first season. And there's like part of it. My friends and I are rewatching Glee.
Yeah, this isn't just she remembers this reference off the top of the dome. She's watching
I would never just pull out Glee as a reference if it were
Jesus
not like
Christ.
relevant. But there's like this monologue that one of the main characters has about Celibacy Club, which is like this isn't actually how people are supposed, like, celibacy isn't valid, like, it just, like, makes you do weirder things, like, it just, like, basically causes you to just, like, not have a healthy relationship to sexuality, and it's, like, that's the way Robert Jordan presents violence sometimes. It's, like, the Tinkers are, like, too pacifist against human nature, and therefore Aram has acted out, and is now violent and obsessive in every feasible way.
Well, it's like we've gotten Aram hyper-condensed into one person, hundreds, if not thousands of years of the Ale people.
Yeah.
You know, the progression of the Ale that Rand finds out is that they were once more or less the Tuatha'an, and then events beyond their control forced certain members to turn to violence, and now they are this hyper-violent people. And so it's like Robert Jordan is trying almost to reprove his point. Which is that neither pacifism nor a war-oriented culture falls under the umbrella term of normal.
Yeah.
And therefore you can't get out of one and become normal. I don't know. Does that make sense? I really liked what you said about pathologizing pacifism. That was smart.
Oh, thanks. And on the, like, flip side of it, of course, is that, like, Aram has basically been uprooted from his culture. I mean, he makes the active choice to remove himself from his culture, but he's basically been removed from all of his support systems, all of the ideologies that he grew up with, and that in and of itself can be a traumatizing thing, whether it is your choice or not, to just sort of be completely removed from everything, your entire worldview and your entire structure. And it's not like Perrin and co offer him a reasonable amount of support for that transition. They're basically just like, you just need to learn how to use a sword, and then you are a functioning member of our group. And it's like, okay, but what about, like, support systems and, like, teaching him other things about how life operates outside of the Tuatha'an camps? Like, he basically has been offered no support, and I think it's not entirely surprising that he's gone down some weird routes.
Yeah, Perrin feels that Aram is his responsibility, but only insofar as he is, like, teach a man to fish. You know, he's got this very masculine, like, well, as long as Aram can defend himself, then I've taken care of him. And I'm like, that's such a hyper-masculine way of viewing the nurturing process.
Yeah.
You know, and it's patronizing a little bit to say that Aram needs to be nurtured. He's an adult, but you're right that he has essentially, his family's dead, more or less. He still had, like, a grandma and a grandpa left, I think, but he has made the decision to leave his culture and live out in the world, in a different form of the world. And so of course he's going to need a little more help adjusting. There's no shame in that. Yeah,
there's no shame in it at all. And I think that, you're right that it can be really patronizing to be like, this adult needs to be nurtured. But I think that, yeah, adults also need to be nurtured. Like, if you're, like, I mean, Perrin's not a good example for this, but, like, if your entire family gets murdered, perhaps you need some time to, like, grieve and adjust.
Yeah, here's Perrin's like, Aram will be fine if he does the same thing I did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not even fine.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Yeah, it's like Aram tried to go on this Rumspringa and then just walk straight into a Quentin Tarantino movie, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't have any sort of, like, level ground here. It is just from 0 to 100 immediately. And to a certain extent, that is his choice. And, like, Aram, yes, is an adult, and he made the choice to be like, not only am I leaving the Tuatha'an, but I am actively embracing violence as a new culture.
Yeah, and it truly is, like, violence is his only culture. It's like, we never really see Aram, like, dancing, or learning about new foods, or, like, really being interested in meeting and talking to new people. It's, like, just Aram plus violence.
It's a pretty grim state of affairs.
Yeah, so I think you just really summed it up at the beginning of this conversation about Aram, where just, it feels like Robert Jordan in like one of the most classic moves of bad writing. Like Aram isn't like a grounded character. He just does and says and moves where Robert Jordan needs him to move based on what the scene is.
Yeah.
It's never like, well, Aram has a certain set of principles that he would hold to, even if it was inconvenient for the plot.
Yeah.
But of course, the principle of violence will never be inconvenient to the Wheelie Time plot because this world just thrives on violence.
Back to the scene, I guess.
Yeah, whatever. Poor
So,
Dobrain.
Perrin has to stand there while Fail and Dobrain sort of talk about whether they should just murder Coolivere right now. And whether that wouldn't be more convenient. Of course, they're not saying that directly, and it takes Perrin an embarrassingly long amount of time to figure out that that's what they're saying. And then he's like, I don't think I'd be very happy if Coolivere just died. And Fail and Dobrain are like, okay, well, your opinion was never relevant. We would have murdered her without your permission, but thank you. Yeah. But he hugs Fail. She's like, hi. He's like, hi, I'm so worried about you. And she was like, yeah, let's go back to our rooms, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the intricacies of the strange rituals of their courtship.
Oh, I know. She's got her fan the entire time.
Oh, yeah, she has her fan the entire time. But basically, she's like, did Rand really get a bunch of Aes Sedai to swear fealty to him? And Perrin and Dobrain are like, yep. And Perrin's like, oh, when we walked in, were you worried that, like, maybe the Aes Sedai had mind-controlled us? And she's like, yes, I was worried. The Dragon Reborn got kidnapped by so many Aes Sedai. Mm-hmm. And you just went sort of herring after him with insufficient forces, so I thought. You know, of course, that was a concern of mine. And Perrin's like, oh, I guess we were both worried about each other. And it's like, duh. Yeah, you went away to a big violent battle. Regardless of whether Aes Sedai were involved, that was scary for Fail, too.
Yeah.
But they head back to their rooms. On the way, they have this weird experience where Celand and her quasi-ale bunch of frat boys and sorority girls. It's always how I picture them, you know? Like, they just walked straight out of a frat.
Yeah.
Anyway, they, like, are trying to sneak up on Perrin and Fail, I think? Or something? I don't know. Or they're just, like, awkwardly following, and Perrin's like, go away. And they're like, ooh.
Yeah.
And leave. And it's like, okay. I guess that was just sort of to introduce them as new potential satellite characters, but...
Yeah, it's very strange.
Whatever. Perrin's like, so how did you, like, get in with Coolivere? And Fail's like, remember, servants are always listening, but don't worry about it. Basically, Basically, she just really wanted to put me in with her group because I'm a princess.
Yeah.
The end. And he's like, okay. And they get into the room and she immediately is like, I can't believe that you would ask immediately about Berylane. Do you even know what I have suffered in the last week with Coolivere just trying to humiliate me and Berylane the entire time? And Berylane saying that you were gone because you'd gone off to some mansion house so she could visit you and have affairs with you. And I just looked like some sort of, you know, idiot who doesn't know that her husband's cheating on her. Da-da-da. Do you know how emotionally fraught that is for me? And I'm like... And Perrin finally snaps, which is what Fail is trying to get him to do. And is like, quiet. Please. You're an idiot. I only love you. Nothing is going on with Berylane, and quit telling me that something is when there isn't. This is a real turn-on for Fail, unfortunately.
He is, like, he picks her up and, like, squeezes her so hard, he's like, I'm worried I broke her ribs.
Yeah, he holds her up off the ground by her shoulders, which I'm pretty sure is uncomfortable. And then he, like, hugs her to his chest, and he's just squeezing. He's like, you are the most precious to me, as her, like, ribs break.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, whoopsie. Oopsie. And she's like, no, you don't understand. This is all I've been wanting from you, is for you to take command and tell me I'm an idiot. put me in my place.
Yeah, it's incomprehensible to me.
I know. I feel like we've
I feel like
nattered
we've
on so many times
beat that
about
dead
how
horse right to death.
it's dumb. The best part of this is that Rand walks in.
Fucking flings the door open.
Like, Perrin and Fail are about to make out, and Rand just barges in and is like, Perrin, have you seen Barrelane? And Perrin's like, oh my god, you are the human embodiment of a cock block. You ginger fuck, get out of my room.
Yeah, Fail does have a very funny line, though, where she's like, oh, thank you, Dragon Reborn, for visiting our rooms. I must not have heard you knock.
It's like, oh, that's so, I didn't hear you knock. And Rand's like, ew. The part of Rand that was raised by Tam Althor is like, oops.
It's a very good line from Fail. I do appreciate it.
And Min is like, ew, in the background. Like, this is hilarious, but I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
Anyway, Perrin's like, do you need something else? And Rand's like, oh yeah, are you sure you don't want to lead the army in Ilion? And Perrin, who is actively wearing his t-shirt that says, I just got through the human meat grinder, is like, no, I don't want to command your dumb armies in Ilion. Fuck off. Also, I'm supposed to stay near you. Min said so. And Rand's like, we all must take risks.
Oh, I know, it is
But if you're sure,
emo as hell.
all right, see you later. Good day, Fail. And Fail's like, oh my god, I hate him.
Yeah.
While he's still in the room. Rand leaves, and Perrin's like, oh, it's so fucking awkward. And Fail's like, well, where were we? And then they have sex. I guess. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I keep, like, wanting to say more about Perrin and Fail's relationship, and then just remembering we have 6 full books ahead of us, in which
Don't worry.
there will be nothing but that to talk about.
We'll get to it.
One day I will sit down and write out my thoughts in an essay format, so that it's not just me talking, rambling.
I would love to read that essay. You're so smart and such a good writer.
I just think it would be a little clearer.
My essay would be like, heteronormativity is a cult, period.
It sure is the way Perrin and Fail do it. Okay, we switch over to Rand, who is, as usual, I mean, if every Perrin point of view in every book starts out with Perrin sitting on the ground feeling sorry for himself, it always starts with Rand in a darkened room muttering to himself and just reminding us how bad things are for him.
Yeah.
He's like, you'll never believe this, but Lews Therin is still yelling in my head about killing people.
Still nattering on.
I know, it's a huge shock. All he wants to do is murder. And that's a real inconvenience for me, a person who only sometimes wants to do murder. He's like, Min went to bed, finally, she's exhausted, and now it's just me and my 20 closest friends, the maidens, who, let me remind you, I don't always like, because they don't treat me like I want them to. It's like, yeah, believe it or not, humans don't always behave the way we want them to. Mind-boggling,
the damn
isn't it?
truth.
He's like, they don't just respect me, except when we're in front of people. And I'm like,
I think they respect you just fine. I think you just don't know how to take a damn joke.
Yeah, you're right. You got me there.
I think you just maybe need to calm down.
3 of the Asha'man are also there. They are Fedwin Moore, Eben Hopwill, and a guy named Adley, who I had totally forgotten about. I don't know if he dies or something.
Seriously, I was like, who is this?
Why is the name sounds familiar, but I guess he's just not one of the ones who I get most attached to or something. Who knows? Adley and Moore, I believe, are dressed... Adley and, Hopwill are dressed normally. Moore is in, like, this sort of costume where he's just, like, in a normal coat. Oh, we're also told sort of just randomly that Fedwin Moore has what Mazrim Chem calls a bar, and which we, from our Aes Sedai points of view, would recognize as a block.
Yeah.
Meaning that there are some constraints on his power. His is that he cannot do things at a distance. For whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a pretty reasonable distance to me. It's like 50 yards or something.
Yeah, oh dang, I can't blow up people more than 50 yards away from me. And the blood will get on me. Yeah. It's like, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have to confront your actions. Know what I'm saying?
R.I.P. Moore, though, are we right?
Yeah, Rand tells us that he is going to make 3 errands. Errands? Here are my errands 3.
Shut up, idiot.
But he says the maidens only know about 2 of them, and we, the reader, by the end of this point of view, only know about 2 of them. So I have no clue what his 3rd one is.
Good writing, Robert Jordan.
I mean, maybe it'll come up later. Maybe this is a mystery that will be revealed in 400 pages when we get back to Rand. But is this going to be like a, you know, who knifed that random Aes Sedai in Camelin? Oh, it was the White Cloaks under Padon Fane that we could never know except by reading the Wikipedia.
I forgot about that.
So bad. But Rand's first errand is that he is traveling to Camelin. He insists on an elaborate disguise, where he is, like, bound and looks like a prisoner and is wearing a hood. Mm-hmm. And all the maidens are like, this is dumb. And Rand's like, shut up. And the whole time I was reading it, like, this isn't that dumb if Rand wants people to continue to believe that he is, like, Rand could have any number of reasons to not want the public to know that he's in Camelin. Until we find out from Rand himself that the reason he's doing this is on the off chance that Elaine and Avienda are in town.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that is dumb then.
Yeah.
I mean...
Like, I was really on board with your whole, like, let's exercise a little bit of political thought, and maybe I don't need to announce my presence everywhere that I go.
Yeah, I love a good costume change. I love the idea that you're like, I don't want to be swarmed by dignitaries and lords and ladies as soon as I step into Camelin. So I will just sort of do things quietly. I'm like, yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, reasonable.
Give me some espionage, you know? But no, he's like, I'm just afraid of women. The women who love me. I'm terrified of them.
They're horrifying. They wanna kiss me? What?
Fuck me?
They wanna do what with my penis?
I don't think that's allowed until I'm married.
Will I ever see it again?
It's gone!
They took it, all 3 of them. They stole it. Like the witches in Macbeth.
I just watched an extremely funny and extremely smart YouTube essay by the YouTuber. Her real name is Natalie. Her, like, YouTube name is ContraPoints.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was the first, like, full essay of hers that I'd watched. She is so smart, so funny. And she was, like, talking about, Andrea Dworkin, that, like, philosopher. Mm-hmm. She was talking about her book Intercourse, which is all about women and sex. She was talking about how it's, like, the femcel version of feminism, because it insists that women must hate sex. Some, like, random thing like that. But she was talking about how in the book or something, it was like, men are always afraid, and this explains why they behave the way they do about sex. They're afraid that women will consume them during intercourse, or something like that. And Natalie was like, I don't know, based on the heterosexual dialogue I've heard in porn, that's not what's going on in their heads. It's not like they're like, oh my god, you're consuming me! Ah! It's more like, oh yeah, you like that, you little blank? Bleh. Anyway.
Oh no, she's consuming me.
She's eating me! Like that scene in American Gods.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Vagina dentata.
Excuse me?
Everyone, I mean, that's not quite what's going on in... I almost said Game of Thrones. Ah! What is happening to me? Anyway.
Anyway. So Rand's like, I'm terrified of women. But he is taken to see Bashir and Bale, who is in charge of the ale, who are in Camelin.
Bale in charge of the ale.
Yeah, Bashir in charge of the salty.
That doesn't work quite as well.
Not a good rhyme. Anyway, Rand is shocked and alarmed to find out that these men's wives have also been invited to the party.
Yeah.
Because they also know what's going on and want to know what more is going on, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Rand is like, how dare women be involved in politics?
I mean, yeah, I do understand why he would be a little bit confused, given that, like, Bashir's wife and Bale's one wife, Dorinda, never really participate in things like this.
Yeah.
You know, like, normally when Rand is like, hey, I want to talk to you, Bashir, it's not like Dira comes along to handhold Bashir the entire time, you know? It makes sense that Molayne would be there as, like, a representative of the wise ones.
Yeah. I mean, it's confusing, but I don't know why he's quite as put out as he
he's
is.
very hung up about it. But he's like, here's what's going on. Or they're like, hey, you good? I can't actually remember their dialogue, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. Why would I? But Rand spends a lot of time looking over a map and reminding us that he has this big old army in right on the border of Ilion that is just ready to go at any time. And if Perrin won't lead it, then he needs Mat to lead it. So he needs Mat to get back from picking up Elaine. He also needs Elaine in Camelin. So Rand is like, wow, I really desperately need the boy that I teleported to this place to bring back Elaine. On foot, for some reason. Yeah. I can't simply... My third mysterious errand can't just be going back to that place and being like, hey, Mat, looking around, you know, finding out what the deal is. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
He also is like, I really need Mat to lead this army. Mat was in position to lead that army until you teleported him away on this nonsense errand.
Yeah, until you told him to fuck off.
Oh my god, it's like, more and more, I'm like, Mat only ends up in Abu Dar because Rand fucked him over.
Yeah.
And that really makes me mad. Rand's inability to just confront the women he has feelings for and be like, hey guys, sorry, turns out I have feelings for all three of you. I don't know what to do about that, but it turns out all three of you are adults and have decision-making capabilities, so maybe we can talk this out.
Yeah.
Regardless of how that ends for me. But Rand is afraid to do that, so he's like, I will send Mat to I will just send my friend, who isn't even my friend, away to do that.
Away into a situation where he is, sexually assaulted.
Fully knowing that Elaine has never just done a thing in her life before because a man told her to do it. And I'm not talking about that in a fun girl boss way. I'm talking about it's in an annoying way where she doesn't take advice from anyone.
Yeah, Elaine knows best.
Elaine knows best. Why would Elaine go to do the thing that makes the most sense for her at this time in her life, which is claiming the throne? Oh
She's
my god.
She's gonna fuck around Abu Dar for a little while.
Elaine's still in her gap year, you fucko. Why would she go home and take up her responsibilities?
Yeah, she is too busy girl bossing her way through Abu Dar.
So of course Mat would just get sucked into the vortex of terror that is Elaine and Nynaeve's relationship and end up in Abu Dar where he is repeatedly raped. Sorry. Thanks a lot, Rand.
When you really lay it all out and you're like, Rand being an irresponsible piss baby is directly responsible for Mat being raped, held hostage, and then ultimately given into the hands of the Shanjin. It's like, everybody better hate Rand or you're not paying it fucking attention.
Ugh.
Mat should get to take out Rand. Mat should invent guns just to be able to take out Rand's kneecaps. It
makes me so angry that, like, literally that last thing we saw in book 7 was book 6, where Rand sent Mat away, was the last time Rand and Mat would speak until book 14, where they have this very cutesy, fun, hey bro, how's it going? What have you been doing for the last 7? Oh, reaching enlightenment. Oh, getting married, rescuing Moiraine, you know, the usual. Aren't we fun and charming? And it's like, I would like some actual emotional intelligence from either of you.
Yeah.
And I would like some of the issues that have been on the back burner for quite a while to come up here. I'd like Mat to be like, hey, guess what happened because you sent me away and couldn't deal with your own shit. And Rand to be like, oh, dang. Sorry? Wow, an apology. Wouldn't that be novel? Sorry, I got pretty fired up about that.
No,
I wasn't expecting to.
I didn't know that they didn't speak again until A Memory of Light. That is...
Nope.
Heinous.
And it really pisses me off, and sorry if you're one of these people, listeners, it really pisses me off when people are like, I love how cute that conversation is. It's so nice to see them just bantering and being bros. And I'm like, what do they have to banter over? What have they had to banter over in 14 books? They haven't had that aspect of their relationship literally since the first few chapters of book 1. And if it's for nostalgia's sake that you want that, fine. I guess Brandon Sanderson is here writing the fan fiction for you. But it's not an accurate portrayal of the growth that these characters have gone through.
Yeah, well, and it's like, I love a good banter.
Who doesn't?
Like, there's nothing better than just, like, lads being lads, friends just shooting the shit with each other. But, like, you have to earn it. Like,
Yeah.
banter just can't exist in space. And, sorry, spoiler alert, this will be a bit of dunking on Brando Sando based on the few of his books that I've read. But I feel like he wants to have the comedic and sort of homey atmosphere that comes from characters bantering with each other, but does not put in the groundwork in order to make the relationships between those characters feel authentic and believable. That's how I felt about Mistborn anyway.
No, yeah, I feel you.
So it is, like, really disappointing but not surprising to me that is what's happening.
I mean, I don't believe Robert Jordan would do any better, to be clear.
Okay, good point. I will dunk on both Robert Jordan and Branderson.
Yeah. But it's just like, to go back to one of our favorite YA series, there's quite a lot of banter in The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, but that banter only works because we are seeing these characters regularly have confrontations and emotional conversations. You know?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like Adam and Gansy's weird, convoluted relationship is only believable the way that it is because we see them yelling at each other.
Yeah, like,
about class privilege. Like, in book 1.
Yeah. You know the moment, I think it's in book 3 or 4, when they're, like, at an assembly and Adam looks over and just mouths yeehaw.
Yeah.
Like, that is pure, like, lads being lads, and it would not work without, like, multiple books of them, like, forming a complicated, intense relationship with one another.
Yeah, and then
they
being
yell at
like,
each other.
this is my best friend and our relationship is incredibly fraught because we're in high school. And
We're 17.
It's always incredibly fraught when you're in high school, but also we have a lot of real issues on the back burner.
Yeah, like...
And I'm like, it's so satisfying when they have fun with each other because it's so satisfying when they...
Yeah, like...
yell at each other.
No, we don't have to keep getting into the Raven Cycle, but the scene at the end of book 1 where Gansey is like, why don't you just leave your abusive family, Adam? You can do that, right?
And Adam's like, what?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Take your boat shoes and walk the fuck out of here, man.
Get your rich ass out of my sight before I beat you to death. And then Gansey is like, maybe I have some emotional actualizing to do.
Durr.
But, oh, sorry, I love the relationship between those dumb boys. Those dumb buggers.
Great.
So the fact that, Matt doesn't get to be like, Rand, take your boat shoes and get out of here.
Yeah, it's
is upsetting to me.
Disappointment. Sorry we keep going on these long rants, and the whole time I just barely switched positions, but up until this point I've been sort of half on my back staring at the ceiling like I'm in a therapist's office. So.
Yeah.
That sort of lended itself to that tone. Rand is like, is Elaine here yet? And everyone's like, no. Duh. And Rand's like, oh, dang, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do in Camelin if Elaine's not here to take over. He hears that the foundations for the War of Succession, which Elaine will have to deal with, have been laid, in that sort of as soon as Rand disappeared, a bunch of people were like, well, I'm the queen now. And Dyelin managed to put that down by, I believe, imprisoning the ringleaders, I guess the nobility, hanging some other people, and anyone else who would have been a baddie has just sort of left Camelin.
Yeah.
So what we have is a bunch, and I would know this because I've just been reading Henry IV Part 2 by William Shakespeare.
God, she's so smart,
It's so English. But what we have is a bunch of people who have issues with the current leadership, whether that is Rand or Elaine, and believe that they have their own right to rule and are not happy to just sort of wait things out. So, of course, when you have a group of people like that, they're going to find each other and are going to eventually form some sort of armed rebellion. But Rand can't be bothered with that, because he's afraid of women. So he's like, well, that's too bad. All of the women in the room are like, hey, you're not gonna try and subjugate any more Aes Sedai, are you? And he's like, I mean, no, not if they are normal to me. And they're like, that's not even a good answer enough for me, because I'm a woman, and for some reason I'm weirdly on the Aes Sedai side.
I know. It's like, let's talk about, like, some weird pop feminism going on in this room right now, where they're like, we are on the side of the powerful ladies.
Yeah, Davram Bashir's wife is like, I'm no gender traitor.
Yeah.
I just love the Aes Sedai because they're powerful women. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
We find out that there's a lot of Aes Sedai in Caemlyn, the same way that there are a lot of Aes Sedai in Cairhien. Not the ones who are related to Rand, but just sort of hanging out.
Yeah.
I think the ones in Caemlyn can be explained by Eleda has sent out a group to investigate and do something about the Asha'man. I don't really know what the ones... Oh, wait. And the ones in Cairhien are Kadsuan's party.
Oh, yeah. I
believe.
Forgot about her.
Yeah, she's getting her introduction soon.
Oh, no.
But in both instances, it's not enough Aes Sedai. The magic number is 13, I believe, for Rand to really be panicked about. Plus, he's not staying in Caemlyn, so he's just like, deal with it, and leaves. He's like, well, I've got to go to my forces in Ilion to drop off one of these here Asha'man, or I guess both of these here Asha'man. He says he's dropping off Adley and Hopwill, and he is leaving Fedwin Moor with Bashir and Bael to carry messages, essentially, because he can travel.
No, the Asha'man are like, I can't believe I went to Mazrimtem's school for murder boys just to become a glorified pigeon.
Literally. Fedwin Moor's like, is this what you think of me?
Like,
I can explode people.
Yeah, thank you so much. I do have, it's like, it's like being a millennial at your job when the, like, boomer who makes 8 times your salary is like, can you convert this Microsoft Word document to a PDF? Yeah. That's what's happening to Moore right now.
It's like, okay, I'm overqualified for this position,
yeah,
but sure.
Why not?
Whatever you say. Rand reminds us that Samael is always best on the defense. And the chapter ends with Bael or Bashir or someone being like, so are you finally gonna start your little invasion of Ilion? And Rand's like, sure am. And then he doesn't.
Yeah. It's very cute though. Bashir's like, woohoo!
Bashir's like, yahoo, baby!
Yeah.
Send me there. And Rand's like, actually, that's just not gonna happen for quite a while because... Spoiler alert, Matt ain't here.
Yeah, Bashir is another extremely competent person that Rand just sort of keeps in Caemlyn.
Yeah, Bashir's like, I mean, I do love fighting, but I guess there's no lost glory in holding Caemlyn for the Dragon Reborn. And I'm like...
There is, though.
I mean...
Sorry, babes.
You're not one of the 5 great statesmen. You're one of the 5 great generals.
Yeah.
Go do your fucking job. I know it's not your fault. Bashir, you're perfect and you never did anything wrong in your beautiful life. It's Rand's fault he's misusing you.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it's the same thing with Matt. It was like, I'm gonna send...
Yeah, talk about glorified pigeons.
Yeah.
I'm sending War Boy Supreme over here to pick up my ex-girlfriend from her gap year, the never-ending gap year.
And then I've got Davram Bashir, a local zaddy, just sort of sitting in Caemlyn doing nothing. And then here are all my Asha'man, my super powerful murder boys. They will also just be running messages for me.
Rand is just like that guy who does, in fact, have a luxury BMW.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey, Matt, you have a shitty VW van, right?
Yeah.
Can you go pick up my girlfriend at the 7-Eleven where the train dropped her off and she can't get home?
Yeah.
And Matt's like, I mean...
Go pick up your girlfriend yourself.
I guess, but only because you have a gun.
Bang, bang.
Or the magical equivalent.
Yeah, poor Matt. Poor all of these boys. Working for Rand must suck ass.
Yeah. He's the worst manager.
Boss in the world.
Yeah. He can't decide whether he's a micromanager or just gone in the wind.
You'll figure it out.
Totally absentee. He's just playing golf every weekend. Okay.
playing golf every day, basically. If golf is being emo or whatever. I don't know. He pisses me off. Did you guys know this? I don't like him.
So that's the state of affairs in Camelin and Kyrian. As we leave them for quite a chunk of the book to, we're gonna hop over to Egg next. We'll be with her for a few weeks. And then off to Ebudar.
Off to the races.
And I believe it just started raining, so if you hear that in the background.
What the H?
Okay, everyone. Do you have anything to add?
No, not about the chapters.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thank you all for sticking with us. Do you have a sign off?
I don't, in lieu of a sign off this week, if I could just take a minute, I can also try and think of a sign off, but I wanted to remind everybody that EHR has a bookshop affiliate page where you can purchase books, and we will get 10% of your purchase will bounce back to us, and then we use whatever we gain from the bookshop affiliate page. We donate to direct aid requests and mutual aid funds that support Black and Indigenous trans people. It's our way to try and leverage this little platform of ours to do some good. We talk about a lot of different books. I'm assuming if you're listening to a Wheel of Time podcast, you're a pretty big reader, so you're probably buying books. You can find that link in the bio of any of our social media. I probably should put a link to that on our website, but it's pretty easy to find. If you have any trouble, you can always DM us and I can send you the direct link. And we got away from this during our break, obviously, but we used to post a book or a couple books recommendation every week. And I think I'm in charge of the social media, so I am deciding that we'll get back into doing that a little bit more with more regularity. So I just wanted to remind you that that is also going on. So if you have a book, if you're in the book shopping market, consider buying it through our affiliate page. Even if you just do it once, that's a great way to add a little bit of mutual aid into your everyday purchases.
Yes, indeed. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Quick sign off. I texted my mom at the beginning of this and was like, we're recording. I'll call you when we're done. She has called me twice during this podcast.
Classic. Well, Sally's got to call her mom back, I guess.
So. Just I know she's...
The reading comprehension.
Moms they either just don't answer the phone after they tell you to call them, or they call you when you're like, I'm distinctly not available at this time. Moms! What are they good for?
Goodbye, everyone.